That's gonna be good. But yeah, guys, I got Kenny here, and then we got Colin here as well, and I'm happy to have you, Colin, because
I,
I know you notification squad. I always appreciate you for that.
I'm always down to join. I'm whenever you would say as soon as you said, "What are you doing?" I was like, apparently I'm gonna be sitting in the hotline or the call, waiting to see what happens.
To get up in there, hell yeah! So I appreciate you for that. That's awesome. But yeah, so recently, it's been a bunch of talks. Well, off the last two developer streams, they mentioned a lot about the movement increases in the game. It was a lot mentioned about when it came down to the shotgun pellets, how they was changed. We haven't even talked about San Diego with Kenny as well, and his experience with San Diego, and even Colin's experience also, and just kind of debunking that event and just having an open conversation and just about just stuff that we thought was cool and that we liked, and the pro league as well. So granted, how in depth we go on all these topics, kind of be based off of how engaging you guys are in the chat with them, and what you guys want to know more about. We're also like, if you guys got questions, we'll answer them here on the spot, and kind of let you guys just interactively kind of guide our conversation as well. And then later on, I'll make sure, for anybody who's actually listening to this on a podcast or on a YouTube, I'll make sure that I read off those chats questions, and so that you guys can kind of know what's popping off as well. So yeah, so joining me is Kenny Bounce. All right. Player of Reciprocity, your Gears San Diego champion of 2019 of the first Gears 5 season. He is 1-0, though nobody got more Gears 5 championships than Kenny Bounce currently, but you know him as an all-around great Gears player, one of the most winningest Gears players of all time. Then won a title in how many different games, Kenny? Is it 4 titles now? I believe.
Yeah, it's fourth. Gears 3, Gears UE, Gears 4, and Gears 5.
And he's the only one to do so. All right, so Kenny plays a lot of Gears of War. He knows what's happening. And then on flip end, we got the one and only, my favorite esports caster rookie of the year 2019, unofficial, Colin Clark. Colin, our Gears of War, caster, analyst, anything talent-wise that we need Colin for. Colin's always rocking on the mic, and he's always entertaining. I always love your puns, Colin, as you know. And but Colin, he loves Gears of War. He probably the master of Gears lore here, right? I don't know how many people that I know in the competitive community that knows more Gears lore than you do, but Colin knows his stuff as well. So appreciate you for being here as well. So, but Kenny, what was so before we got on? Let's talk about what's the number one thing on your mind. Like, if we said come out the gate hot, you got something on your chest. What is it gonna be?
The movement in Gears of War 5 is complete trash at the moment, and that's with obviously no disrespect to the coalition, because I know one of the things recently that, like, I've even been told this by at least one or two people from the coalition. One of their biggest issues with the competitive scene right now is how, like, kind of quote unquote toxic we're being about the movement. And obviously for them, that just, like, anything toxic isn't going to be fun for anybody to handle. It's going to be rough for everybody. So,
and I guess the question is, why do players feel toxic, right? Why do they feel like players are being toxic?
Yeah, no, players are definitely being toxic with, I know we went into the dev stream and we were spamming just revert, and we weren't really, we're kind of just crying about a problem, but not fully offering a solution. So for them, it's like, all right, you're crying about a problem, but you're not telling us what to do about it. So it's not going to help. We're not going to be able to help you because you're not helping us, kind of thing. I fully understand where they're coming from.
Yeah, I get that as well. I think that's definitely understandable.
Yeah, so when I say that's the one thing I feel like needs to be addressed right now, it's like, with no disrespect, not like taking a shot at Node Zero or anything. That's just, like, the movement is not good. We've made a lot of progression in Gears 4, and this is I've been a part of a lot of conversations in Gears 4. Like, towards the end of Gears 4, I feel like the coalition was very, like, open with conversation and, like, responsive with us. about the movement, shotgun, what needs to be better. Like, yeah, something as simple as, and this doesn't get discussed, but no active damage on the shotgun was something that was discussed at the end of Gears 4.
Yeah.
And that's like we had a lot of discussions with the coalition, a lot of group conversations, whatever it is, about fixing things. And I feel like this movement update just made a lot of those conversations we had and a lot of things that we wanted to be better. It just like kind of reverted it all. Like it just kind of just washed that all away. And I think that's why a lot of players are upset, because we've actually made progression in the movement department.
And so progression in which direction though? Like progression as so what was progression before from Gears of War 4? Was that the game being slowed down to more what was that to you?
So where the movement was headed towards in Gears 4, like Gears 4 out of every Gears game was an aggressor's game. Like it was everybody. If you were aggressive, you're more than likely going to have a higher success rate in shotgun fights. Like it was an aggressor's game, period. And going into Gears 5, and even towards the end of Gears 4, the coalition was doing their best to kind of find the middle balance between being an aggressor and being a defensive player. And we, like, just to put like percentages on it to for people to understand, like the game in Gears 4 was like 85% aggressor success rate, 15% defensive success rate.
Yep.
And going to Gears 5, I feel like they made a pretty large shift in that and made it where like 65% of the time the aggressor was successful, and then 35% of the time the defensive player was successful, which is a huge change. Like it's only like a 20% change, but it's a huge change. I still felt like
it does make a big difference in the flow of the game, though, and the decisions in which players can make. Me coming from more of a defensive kind of support type of play style, I enjoy kind of being a part of those plays and setting them up. And I do believe in Gears 5, like you found a lot of players decreasing their sensitivities a lot because they felt like, just based off their in-game knowledge, if they were just a little bit more tactical and they thought it out more, that they can get those plays without putting their lives in risk.
Yeah, exactly. And that's I'm happy you brought up the sensitivity thing, because me actually last night, I'm a defensive player. Like my name is Kenny Bounce, and I like to use movement and like be aggressive. But since the start of Gears 4, I'm known as like a defensive player because my name was Kenny Bounce when the game was defensive. Like I was an aggressor in a defensive era. I felt like
exactly the bounce was a tactic to dodge team fires and shots, because like that especially in execution days where you have to push a lane because this is the goal and it needs to happen. Because me and you teamed a lot, and that was one of the best reasons, my favorite reasons having you on a team, because I knew that when we had to make a play that I can trust you to just go lead the charge, and you will dodge the team fire of the other team, get yourself in a position to kind of open up the door for the rest of the team to follow. But not everybody can do it as cleanly as you did, because it was something that was very difficult.
Exactly. So I did that during an era that it kind of like led up to what this is now. And yeah, I'm now considered a defensive player. I'm a part of the old man defensive era of Gears. And
welcome to the club.
When I played when I played Gears 5 last night, I had to raise my sensitivity. I'm on 25s, right? Like I was on 25s before. Some people were a little bit lower, but for me, being the kind of player I am, being on 25s is I felt like that was pretty good. I know Fran plays on 24s. He's still playing on 24s, but I bumped right up to my Gears 4 sensitivity. That's pretty much what I feel like this update did. Like this update pushed us back to Gears 4 in a movement segment or section of the game. And to me, that's going backwards. Like we're on Gears 5 now. We don't want to be pushing things back to Gears 4.
Yeah.
And I feel like we should have already taken the positives from Gears 4 and applied them to Gears 5 and improved them going into Gears 5. And I just don't really understand the update.
Well, but I was gonna say they did in the last developer update say that they had made the change elsewhere, but them wanting to make kind of more frequent changes and keep people up to date, that it just affected so much more and everybody had to play it. But I feel like I'd rather have a safer place to kind of make those changes, especially if you want people to test them and see how they feel and see how they affect the game as a whole. But I don't know if they have the capabilities of doing that, of having that developers playlist. Yeah.
Node made a tweet saying that he wishes he could make, or he wishes he had the time. I think it's just the time thing to make a dev playlist. It's like I forget, he had like a name for it. I don't think it's just a dev playlist, but he wanted to make a playlist, or it's kind of like a comp beta thing that we
Yeah.
had in Gears 4. That they 100% could do that in Gears 5. No
Because
deal
that's
even said
definitely what
they
I feel
could.
like would be just a
And
good option, just to make, just try universal changes and say, hey, how does that feel? This is something completely on the other end of it all. Because for me, just based off the amount of time I've been playing Gears, like I always feel like just Gears 3, the game went in a totally different direction once 30 sensitivities got added to the game. And once all the people who was playing it before left, pretty much, a lot of people just kind of died, and a new community emerged, that everybody was playing for the wall bounce kills and the fast movement, and that was just cool, and it just became normal, and it became a thing of, it became like a stature of pride. I think what I'm trying to say, it just became a staple of, this is what makes me a good competitive player, is that I can wall bounce a lot and get kills, and people like this shit. And so I'm gonna just
Gears 3, I feel like I'm somebody who once I started playing, like really started playing in 2007, 2008, like with just ranked. I'm not saying I was good in 2007, 2008, but when I started playing then, I feel like I'm one of the only players that never like took a break and never stopped. Like I was always playing Gears. It never stopped. So I was there for like the older era of like the way the game plays into like the newer era, and I never stopped. Like there was a point where I was playing Call of Duty with Icy, Nick, and Kyle, and even during that point, like we were still playing Gears, right? So I never stopped playing Gears, and like I feel like this whole movement change thing did start in Gears. Like you said, it's kind of like that one community died off and a new community came in and took over, and the values of the old community
it was gone.
were not the values of the new one, and it was different.
And so my thing is, I feel like a lot of people don't know better. Right, like if it comes down to, okay, the competitive community wants one thing, the casual community wants another, but have you ever that new casual community? Do they know what it felt like to play a lot of what we used to? Right, a lot of a slower, more tactical game. Do they know?
What I thought was interesting going through my forum post, and I was gonna say this before. Like I saw my forum post was interesting, and it was interesting because, like, I got attacked in there, obviously, so that made it interesting for one. Two, the other part that made it interesting was like the split within the post, because I was just reading. Like I think there's like 260, 270 posts in that thread. There's comp people who posted. There's like your casual diehard Gears fan that posted. And there's just kind of like the random people that want to just kind of sprinkle in their 2 cents and walk away.
So So set it up for everybody that's listening. So the forum post was initially about.
Oh, okay, yeah. So the forum post that I made was about the movement, right? And the idea behind, like, all right, like here's the issue that I see in the movement.
Yes.
Here's like 3 or 4 things that I think can be done, or like kept the same, to make it where movement is in a better place that draws that aggressive and defensive like play styles more towards the center line, and like would hopefully make both sides happy. That's what my post is about. I kind of want to open up the forum post because now people might be like, oh,
no, that's cool. Yeah, no, open up the forum post and put it in the Discord. Colin, what's good with you? You over there sitting?
I'm chilling, just taking it all in, listening to 2 of these guys that have been in the history of Gears from the competitive standpoint. You got to soak it up sometimes. You got to let their points sit well with you before you make an educated response.
There you go.
The next thing I would say is, a lot of people forget, and I know Kenny even alluded to it within his own thread, how it kind of broke down into those 2, I almost call them like warring factions. You've got the competitive people who know what the competitive side needs, who know how the game should feel and look. And the best response just about anybody can give you is one of the best tournaments I think I've seen in a long time was San Diego, because of how much tension was built into every single round. I'll never forget, I think as long as I ever live now, the moment in the green room, I was listening to you and Ben talk about it. Y'all both got real quiet. It was on exhibit. It was that final push that Reciprocity had to make.
Everybody
stopped. Everybody just stopped dead in their tracks about 3/4 of the way across the map. I'm sitting there in the green room. I'm like, Icy's the only one that can go first because he's the only one with multiple respawns. Everybody else is either low or out. And then all of a sudden you had this execution style, slowed down, methodical Gears of War, and it just felt right. It felt good.
I'm thinking about it now.
It's one of those moments where you're like, my God, can I bottle this and sell it on the street? I'd make millions of dollars. It's one of the best feels I've ever had. And I think there's that faction, and they're working against, in my opinion, they're having to go against the other side of the faction, which is people who come from my background, which is we didn't have teammates. We didn't have like people to get on every night and scrim with or play with. So we always ended up playing for ourselves in games. We always played ranked, and we never had a teammate shooting for us. So we were always playing for ourselves. But that's what makes the faster movement so appealing to that large audience, because that large audience that doesn't have the teammates, that don't have the friends to play the game with, and as sad as it sounds, it's just a fact. It makes the game easier for them because now they can play for themselves.
Thank you. And so,
go ahead.
No. But I just want to touch on that point, and I think that's something that kind of gets lost on it, right? Like, I think on a big picture of Gears is that if you want to watch, like, if you want a lot of people to watch your game, right, and a lot of eyes on that, it needs to be built in a way that's easier to perceive. And one of my biggest gripes with Gears 4 at the time was just that the pace of it, if my mama was to watch it, it's going to be way harder for her to understand what's happening than it would be her watching CSGO, you know? But it never used to be like that because we used to have these slow tactical rounds sometimes, right, back in the day. But I think the most important thing is just that prioritizing the viewer of the game, no matter where the viewer is, if it's at Twitch, if it's at the events, can they easily understand what's happening? But on the flip end, you know, for the player, a lot of things is done so that the player can have fun and the player does it in a certain way. But it's, you know, very few players and viewers who like what's there. But being able to understand the game at that level is a lot easier for them when it is slowed down and you get more of those ooh-wow moments and those, you know, those gasps in the pressure. And it just makes for exciting. And I feel like we had a lot of that in San Diego, and it was very refreshing.
Yeah, I feel like if San Diego was played like in 2 weekends from now, compared to when like the update was just dropped, like kind of on us at the event, I feel like we wouldn't have seen that. After playing these scrims and playing the way the game's played right now, people prepared on a slower update.
Yeah.
And then we didn't even know like the real like what was changed in this update. Like you could
because
feel the difference,
it's hard to tell that on tournament time.
Yeah,
right?
and we like our muscles were already set up to play the game with what we prepared for before the event, and that's everybody was prepared for that. And I feel like if we like, and I'm saying 2 weeks from now because the update came out over a month ago. If we played it 2 weekends from now, it's like a month and a half after the update dropped, you wouldn't get that same good event. Like in my opinion, and this is kind of a bold statement, if they don't change this movement, especially we had a broken shotgun in San Diego. If they don't change this movement, we're not going to get that same quality of event in Mexico.
That we had in San Diego is going to be different because now people got hours and reps on the game. You guys been playing it, and now you fully understand what that update is.
Yeah, that good event we saw, because I had the same enjoyment watching the event and seeing the way people played and how everything unfolded. I had that same enjoyment as a player to watch, and I did get an easier bracket, like quote unquote easier. Like I wasn't playing, like we played Regal's Reserve for top 8, and like other teams were playing, or like for top 8 going to top 4, I think, and like
that
NRG
game
played Mazer. I think Hive already had to play Rise the night before. Then they were playing some other good team, and then like other teams had like a more difficult bracket, like to the point where you're like, all right, like these teams are top 6 teams, and we were playing a team that like it was great that they made it to the top 8. You know, like they beat the kings of the region and made it to that point, and like they were happy to be there. So I'm not taking anything away from Regal Reserve or disrespecting in any way. I'm just saying that we had the easier bracket, so we had more of a spectator seat as well. And for us, like I enjoyed watching what was going on. I turned into like kind of like a fan of the esport, watching all this stuff.
And it felt like the good old days.
It felt like the good old days, and I just feel like we wouldn't have that going into this next event if they keep this movement. Like if they kept the shotgun the way it is, as broken
the way it is today. The way the
If the
game
way it
is
is
to
today,
today.
it would not be the same quality of event. It would be a lower quality of event. It would be it just wouldn't you wouldn't get that same excitement. There's so
Mm,
many more exploitable things on this update that would take away from it.
that we
So it's
understand now. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
Hey, Kenny, can I ask you a quick question real quick? Because I think you might be able to
sure.
break this down a little bit better than how I interpreted it. Because again, as I tell everybody, when you talk to me about mechanics and the way the game is played, I just kind of play what's given to me, and you got to explain it to me like you're talking to a 4-year-old.
Okay.
When Node Zero said what he said on the dev stream, where he wanted it to feel like if you never like stopped in the cover, if you just hit the cover to up A the cover, did you interpret that as like, let's say you're going into the cover at 10, like 10 is your top speed. You're going into the cover at 10. Instead of coming out of the cover with any reduced momentum, it was like you went in with 10 and came back out with 10. Is
You're gonna
that
come
how it's
out.
interpreted?
No, you're gonna come out with more because you have the speed boost. So what he was saying on the stream, this is the way I took it. Pretty much like break it down to like very very simple. What he was saying on the dev stream was that if you were just sitting on cover and you up A, they don't want to give you a speed boost. And then if you're running into the cover, so if you have momentum running into the cover and
Yeah.
you go and slide in and you up A, you're gonna get a speed boost. So your roadie run speed is 10. And then if you slide into the cover and up A, you get a boost, so you're gonna be above 10. You might be at 12, 13, and then you're gonna go from that 13. You'll eventually go back down to 10 with roadie running.
And the reason was because that technically the roadie run was at max speed, but when you slow down, it's just that you have to build up again, right? You have to build, yeah, you have to just build that speed up. So they wanted you to be able to get to that point quicker, I believe.
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. Because I wasn't sure if I misinterpreted it or what, but it was just the way that it sounded coming out to me. I was like, I don't know if that sounds right. I don't know if you should be able to like hit a wall and get faster as you go around the wall. Like the second my body makes contact, I should slow down just a hair.
No, it's reverse. Like the way they should be looking at it and
Uh-huh.
how it should work is the exact opposite. If I'm
Yeah.
sitting on a cover, if there's gonna be a speed boost, do it the opposite. If I'm running to the cover and I go to slide and up A, then I shouldn't
You should
get
be.
a
You
speed
should
boost.
slow down. You should
Yeah, you should slow down. You
you
shouldn't get a
hit
speed
cover. You
boost.
hit cover. Like forget your momentum before. We're playing a cover shooter. You hit cover. You're supposed to sit
Exactly.
there.
And then if you're sitting on cover and you up A, like if you're gonna put a speed boost somewhere, it should be on the person who's not moving, and then they're upping. Like give them the speed boost, and then don't let someone who's running continue to be able to run up A and go. Really, there should be no speed boost because the inconsistency, and this is me just being like competitive, but also just thinking about the way game mechanics are.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want inconsistencies. I feel like that's something that everybody hates in battle royale games. Like it's inconsistencies. If you drop at whatever house and you walk in on a BR, you would
Yeah.
like to have the same guns in those houses so you can
Yep.
plan, right? It's all about planning, and those inconsistencies like hurt the battle royale. And then if you do that in Gears, it's the same exact thing. If somebody is able to change their speeds with a speed boost and it's not always there, it's when they do a certain move. Like it's those inconsistencies are going to throw off competitive. It's going to
And
throw off a player. It's going to get people killed. It's going to get
yeah,
like
and I want
whatever
to
it
give
is.
you.
It's
And
a negative outcome.
I want to get, and I want to make sure that people understand this about pro players as well. Is that with the pro players is that they master the game and they master the movement at the highest level, and then they understand that the highest chance of success is going to be ABC, and in this case is you having to make that move first and go hit that up A or wall bounce to close the distance because that's just going to give you the highest rate of success the way it is now. And but you guys understand that at a different level than most. Okay, and that's why the pace of y'all games go the way that they do because it's like even if I was to be tactical, even if I was to make the smart play, take the step back, pull my lance away for the teammate, he can close the gap so easily because he has mastered the system just as much as I have, and he'll be here in 2 seconds. So you might as well keep your shotty out as well and get ready for him. You know what I'm saying? So you might as well just do it that way, and y'all gonna be bouncing in a circle, and everybody else gonna say we got to do the same shit. It turns into what it is.
That's all. Scrims right now they're not fun. It's a lot of just
Is it
it's a lot of like
tornado?
it's a tornado. It's not it's just a mess, to be honest with you. That's why I said give it 2 more weeks of people playing, because people aren't like really fully back in the swing of things still. In 2 weeks, people will be back in the full swing of things. Let us have a LAN at that point, and you're just gonna see a bunch of tornadoes. You're gonna see a lot of Gears 4. Is like that's the best way to put it. Like if you've seen an event on Gears 4, it's gonna be a lot of Gears 4, and it's like I said,
Yeah.
I feel like it's a big step backwards, and it's just not the way we were looking to go. I
Yeah.
pulled up this forum thread though, and the 5 things I said were to revert the slide speed and speed boost. And
Okay.
personally, if I was being selfish, I would actually want both of those slower. Like I'd want the speed boost out of the game, but with the speed boost out of the game, I'd want to just revert the slide speed, because you're already taking something more away from other movements. So I'd want the slide speed to actually stay like at the old reverted speed.
Okay.
And then but I said revert slide speed, revert speed boost.
Yep.
Keep the strafe speed and roadie run speed increase, because before this update, before San Diego, I did feel like there was a lack of personality in gunfights. I felt like.
So hold on, let me pause you right there, because I want everybody to be clear on it. So going back to number 1 on the revert slide speed and speed boost, is that just explain like in the numbers that you want it to be reverted back to the point that when you up A, you're not getting any boost whatsoever. That it's the same speed in which you went at it with, right?
Well, there's a speed boost before this too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like it's just going back to the old numbers. So let's say like with this update, they increased everything to like 650. Let's say both numbers are 650, and before this they were 630 or something, or 620 or 600, whatever the hell it was. Like I want them to go back to that old number. Let's say it's 650. Before it was 600. Like I want them to go back to 600.
Okay.
But reduce those numbers, and they don't give us numbers. So like let's say they dropped it back down. That's what I want them to do there. So like make it what it was before San Diego. And the reason for that is because I don't feel like that was the problem. I feel like they're trying to, like, I don't know if it's inorganically create something in the game that is just going to actually make the game worse, which it has. And then my other points are doing things that make the game more individually unique. So
yeah, like point 2.
So point 2 is keep the strafe speed increases and the roadie run speed increase and the shot out of the roadie run increase. And the reason for wanting to keep those is because I feel like there's room to grow individually in Gears. You want people to be able to go into a rank game and individually outplay, people on the other team. If you have a 1v1, you should feel like you can individually outplay people in like a Gears of War way. Like, right now you can make the argument.
In order to individually outplay people, you want to be able to have just a bag full of tactics that you can use.
Yeah, there's tools you need to be able to use, and right now I feel like those tools, like that, the toolbox you have is very limited with what it was, even how it was before the update. Right now they added a tool, they added a hammer into your toolbox and said just go run at them and throw hammers, smack them, whatever it is. Like that's what they did now, and I feel like they need to take that hammer away and give you more tools, give you more things to work with. So that's the keep the strafe speed increase, roadie running increase.
And so the hammer is the wall bounce in your face, right? Is that the hammer?
Yeah, exactly. The hammer is the wall bounce in your face. And the third point I put in there was to actually it's with the roadie run shooting. I said that, on Gears 1 you could roadie run and shoot instantly, like right out of the roadie run.
Yeah, come out. Yeah, you were ducking shots.
Yep. I actually said that they, as a tactic for like an aggressive or a defensive player, because it's used both ways. I'm a defensive player, and I know if I could roadie run and shoot fast, I can use that defensively. I actually said that they should experiment with making that even faster than what they have it now. Like, consider going to a point where you allow somebody to shoot almost instantly out of their roadie run, because if it's done the right way, it's not going to be this. Like if people aren't running at the speed of light and shooting instantly out of a roadie run, it's not going to be a bad thing. It's going to be something that you can see the thought process and what somebody is going for.
Well, the question is, what's the worst that can happen? What's the worst that can happen if that goes down? Because
the worst that can happen is somebody actually just runs at you and chunks you right out of like he's just running at you.
But he's in open. But he's in the open, right? But that's the thing is that like in close ranges, I feel like. In close ranges, like you said, you can use it, offensively if you want to, and you can also use it defensively. But technically, if we're playing a third-person cover-based shooter where we're using team tactics and where the pace of the game is slower, if he's in an open like that, he should be getting crossed. That's
Yeah,
all.
he should. That's what I mean.
He should
Like
be
there's
getting
the
crossed.
trade-off. The trade-off is
Theoretically, he should be getting
positioning, and you can
crossed.
outplay it. Yeah, you can outplay that very easily in like pre-update, like pre-San Diego update. Like you could outplay that heavily, and like it's allowing somebody to roadie run and shoot out of it. It's just something again. Like I just like that's just throwing another tool in the bag. That's what I'm trying to get in there. Like all right, get the screwdriver in there. That's the screwdriver. Just chuck that in, and that's part of what I'm trying to go for. Point four was something else that comes from that gear. This is coming from like that Gears 1 video. Remember the thing that guy posted? Like
Yeah.
these ideas are coming from that Gears 1 video. Another thing, like the fourth point is making rolling sideways and rolling backwards like something you could shoot faster out of, because it's like I feel like to me if you roll forward or diagonally like front left or front right, like that's a misroll. Like you're not meaning to like
Yeah.
to like use that aggressively.
I remember in
Head down
Gears
against
1,
somebody.
I used to use it as a tactic sometimes, just because
Yep, exactly.
like
It was
as an offensive tactic.
it was even a thing in Gears 1, Gears 2, Gears 3. There's something, and it was primarily said when I was on a team with Praise, Fran, and Soto, but like we used to call it, and actually I think it was even said when I teamed with like Shane back in Gears 3 also, that the back roll was called the championship back roll. Like you back roll and you shoot because people wouldn't be able to close the distance on you like fast enough, so you'd get another shot out rather than getting 4-pointed, right? Or like getting 4-point or getting killed. You might get 4-pointed, but you'll 4-point them, and like that's then your teammate can shoot down the person for you.
And it makes it hard. And it's harder for them to close the gap, right?
Exactly.
And so, but also what we need to take into account is that those players also understood that at the high level that I cannot sit back in my current situation and I have to push the fight because this is I'm recognizing that this is the best opportunity that I have for my team. And that was something that was always hard for Gears players to clarify and understand and take those moments,
They used to separate good players from
that separated good players from great players, knowing that I have to go fight. But continue.
And then so it's like shooting
championship
faster.
Back row.
Yeah, so like so if you roll front left, forward, or front right, that to me is considered a misroll. Like you're head rolling at somebody. That's a misroll. Like make it as exactly how it is now. Like that should be the most punishable roll. Like similar to Gears 1. Like their head comes all the way up before. That's not how it is right now. But like it's the closest to the Gears 1 punishable roll.
Yeah.
And then I feel like if you roll left, right, or like back or back left or back right, you should be able to use those tactically. You should be able to shoot faster out of them. And granted, some people will misroll sideways, but I still feel like for the sake of adding another tool to the box, I would rather there be the like not the rare scenario, but the scenario where like somebody does side roll, comes out of it, and shoots quick enough to get a kill, than like take that tool or like make that tool unusable, So what I'm saying is I would rather allow people to roll sideways or backwards and shoot faster out of it as an aggressive or defensive tactic than not allow them to do that, so that people can add another like individual.
So they can make the choice. They can make the choice how they want to use it. But it's the fact is that the choice is there, but also the player understands too. Whether if you're on the defensive side of that what he can do, and so you have to be smarter on how you approach the fight. And like, yep.
And that was point 4, and then point 5 I think is something that's not discussed enough, and I think it's discussed kind of, but it's not discussed as much in this game because people feel like the starting weapons, the Lancer, shotgun, pistol, are all really good. But I actually think that like we need to relook at the rifles in Gears 5, because I feel like this is why this conversation is coming up to begin with. I feel like the first 4 points are about movement, but really the reason why ranked people or ranked players, and I'm like technically all 3 of us in here are ranked players as well. Every player that competes is also a ranked player. We want to be able to play ranked too. I shouldn't be fighting myself to get on ranked, and I feel like part of what deters people from wanting to play ranked outside of the ranked issues is the fact that everybody knows this. If you queue into a King of the Hill, you're getting Lancered the fuck out. Like it just is what it is. And it's just one step worse for somebody who people know in the community, because I just go into a ranked game, I get Lancered out, and I get humped the entire time. That's all that happens to me. So it's hard for me to want to do that. But my 5th point was reducing the damage on rifles, not just the Lancer, but all of the rifles, kind of like what happened to the Marksa. And that, or like create a recoil pattern for rifles, kind of like in a Counter-Strike kind of way, to where there's more of a skill gap with using the rifles. And if you slowed down the movement, gave individuals more tools with the movement and shotgunning, and then you either reduce the damage or you made using rifles harder, like players will then find that you can still use the rifle and beam people down who are just trying to run at you with a shotgun and be aggressive, or if you're the aggressive player, you still can outplay these rifles and outplay people in the ranked. Again, all I'm talking about here is increasing the skill gap of the game in its entirety. And I think right now, all of the rifles, the retro lance, like everything besides the Marks. I think the Marks is actually the only well-tuned.
The Marksa has a decent recoil pattern on it. I want to say already, but you want to make sure that the recoil pattern is stricter on the other guns to bring the damage down as well. Make the pattern stricter.
Yeah, whatever it is. If it's down, if it's one or
with
the
a combination
other,
of slowing the game down.
Yeah, it's if we're gonna slow the game down, the only way we're gonna be able to do this is if we don't have guns that are overpowered.
Correct.
And I feel like with the start of Gears 5, like if before the Marksa revert, the Lancer was strong, then the Lancer still is strong. The Lancer is strong. The Hammerburst is strong. The Hammerburst is ridiculous. The Retro, I was using the Retro yesterday. Retro is ridiculous as well. The Marksa at the start of the game was ridiculous. It's just had a bigger cry out for people, like for us.
And it seems like the way that so it seems like those been kind of getting balanced by the pace in a sense, right? Allowing players to move more away from the damage rather than slowing the players down and making the damage more acceptable to the pace.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yep.
You had me until that moment, Kenny. I'm not gonna lie to you.
What do you mean? Oh yeah, you're a rifle player.
You had me in the first half, man. You had me in the first half, and I said, "Damn, man, he took my Lancer from me. What the hell? What's wrong with him?"
Look, if you watch me when I play, I'm a big Lancer player too. That's all I do for the most part.
I like I like the idea of the recoil. I think one of the things that I think maybe the middle ground for you and I talking about the Lancer would be, I like the damage of the Lancer simply because I like the fact that, to me, I know a lot of people are going to say the Gnasher is the most iconic weapon. The goddamn Lancer is what you butter your bread with. It's got the chainsaw.
The chainsaw.
That's the thing that we built the legacy of this game on, is that Lancer. It's just an iconic weapon. So for me, I'm like, make that a viable option at all times. As a gear, it's the first weapon you learn how to use, and all the books, they talk to you. Like, there's actually like a full chapter in one of the extended lore books talking about how much training actually goes into understanding and using that weapon. So for me, I'm like, dude, make that a viable weapon at all times across any map. I should be able to whip my Lancer out and make somebody fear for their life. I don't want him to be like, oh, it's overpowered and I can just beam at him and just be done with him like an ICR in Black Ops 4. I just want it to be like, I want to be able to.
The Lancer should be the cultured weapon.
I want it to be that weapon where you get hit 4 or 5 times and you're like, all right, I didn't mean it. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go back in my hole now. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean to come out.
So using your point, do you feel like Gears of War right now is fitting what you're saying? Like
no, because what's happening it's key. It's more so.
I feel like we're moving away from your point.
It's more so tuned around a shotgun rather than a Lancer. Yeah. It's tuned more around shotgun play rather than tactical play. I always said that if everybody in this chat and everybody that's listening want to make Gears better as a community, like as far as like the players, use your Lancer 20% more in ranked games. Okay? You know, and just use your Lancer 20% more, you know, and see if everybody starts adjusting. Okay, because you are melting them.
Perspective for a lot of people. I don't think a lot.
It's
of
a player perspective. Do not understand that.
Take that role. Nobody wants to be that guy because everybody likes the stat line at the end of the game. Everybody wants to be the guy standing there with MVP across his chest and he makes his little emote at the end of the game. Nobody wants to be the guy that at the end of the game your teammate looks at you and go, "Hey man, I wouldn't have gotten 15 of those eliminations if it weren't for you having my back. You're about 15 feet behind me with that Lancer." Nobody wants to be the guy with the Lancer.
And there's other players out there where they're just like, "Oh my god, I had 50 fucking assists, and I'm just like, I feel good, but I don't need no praise, right? Those are real support players. Real support players don't care if somebody says thank you. They just like, I gotta do what's done. You know, I'm just a support player. I just gotta do what I gotta do.
You guys are describing my role here. Like, this is what I do on a daily basis.
But you're right. But you're right, Colin.
Like
the culture.
This is really shitty. It's really...
the culture. Everybody wants to be at the top. They want to be the wall bouncer. They want to get the 5-piece, and they want to get value from that, you know. And the game is set up for them to all possibly do like to kind of go that way. But you know, they need...
right now in ranked is like I have that part of me too, where I just want to run at people, press my A button 17 times, and then up A them, and like, yeah, just up A the shit out of them after doing something really dumb. Like I have that part of me too. It's just. I like using my Lancers so much more. Like it's like I know what Colin is saying. Like I get way more enjoyment when I'm playing Gears, and I know that like my teammates fighting. Like, let's use Vaskar for example. Someone's fighting by the tank, I Lancered for them. Someone's fighting middle map, I'm Lancering for him. And then I see someone, like I start running towards the left side of the map, and like there's somebody else I can run over, and I get 3 eliminations for all of them. And I'm like, I just did so much around the map, and it's gonna show up because of the elimination stat line, but you're not gonna see it. Like in Gears 4, you never saw that. You never saw that, like, that extra thing I just did to help every single fight.
And
that's what I enjoy Gears like for. And honestly, for us in San Diego, that was the difference maker. Like we had multiple comebacks at that event, and a lot of change up that happened in those comebacks was it's like the switch up between a Lancer player and a shotgun player. Like we were trying to just run around with shotguns and like world star people.
And my thing is, I always want the audience to be able to see that and say, "Oh my god, I get, you know, like I saw the little thing that he did. You know, I saw the little maneuver, and I want them to organically be able to get that. You know, granted, as a caster, you know, it's up to me, you know, a lot of the times to say what you guys just did and why it was so great. But I want the audience to organically just be able to say, "Oh my god." Like, that was very smart what he did, just because they are able to take in more of what's happening because the game is slower.
And that's I agree with you completely, and that's why I like I put thoughts as if you look at my forum post, my first forum post, like that's not a small thread. Like that is like my first post was a pretty decent post. Like,
yeah,
I put
good
some
job,
effort
by the
and
way.
some thought into
Good
it.
job. That was that's a good job for Kenny for making that post in the forums, because you know it goes back and it brings up a lot of those you know, older issues in which was had there, because you know the history of Gears, like back in the day, everybody was just on Game Battles forums for the most part. Well, you know what, the entire competitive community was there, but that created a lot of culture for everybody, because we was all on those all on that spot. But then it was separation between Epic Forums and them, and it's always kind of been that separation of the culture for a very long time. But you know, I do believe that we all have to be better about, one is being able to share our opinions and not everybody liking our opinions, being able to have better conversations, be better human beings, and to be able to, you know, get to these points a lot better, you know, and it starts by all of us being in one place and having this open conversation, because you have to be able to, in a respectful way, have a conversation with somebody if you even want to be able to change that opinion. You know what I'm saying? If you want to even approach them about something new. And everybody can do that. Everybody can make a little conscious effort and change the narrative as a whole across Gears of War community to get everybody to the same place, you know? Because if you think about it from the flip end on the coalition side, they're like, they want this and you guys want that. And we're doing our best, and they're doing a great job at trying to find that balance between the two. But if you want to make that job easier, then educate and, you know, be nice. So
yeah, I don't know if you wanted to like move on to like the next topic, but if we wanted to keep going, the next thing I was gonna say is that when I was in the forums, like reading through posts, because I didn't reply a whole bunch to a lot of things going on. I replied a bit, but not a lot. I noticed like if you just went and just read through the forum, if you want to, you see the big separation between everybody, right? Like I feel like competitive people for this are on the same page. Like there's 95% of people on the same page. You might have 5% of people that are on like the slightly different page, whether it's, you know, they don't mind the update, but they see why people want to change, or they like the update, right? That's the 5% in the comp community. So you can separate that. But when I went through the forums was interesting, because out of the 260 replies, like there might have been like let's say 70 or 80 people replied, and some people posted like multiple times. Like 70 or 80 might even be like high.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just interesting to like go through and see like there's some people that were just attacking me, right? They were attacking me. Let's just throw those people to the side. They were attacking me.
You used the wrong place for your subpar logic, Kenny.
The wrong place. Yeah, that guy was pretty interesting. When I woke up the next day, because I posted that night, woke up the next day and saw that, I was like, oh no, did I make a horrible mistake here? But then as it went through, it wasn't as bad. But there's those people, and then there's people who, it's weird, there's like a middle ground. There's people who like this new update, but are like, I also like the old update more. So, I would like to see like something with that. I saw those people. There's people who are like, I don't like this update. I see what they're going for. I like the old update. Like there's like that middle like flip ground where they're okay with whatever. Like they're gonna play Gears for whatever Gears is.
Yeah.
And they might have a preference of the two, but they're gonna play. Like there's that middle ground. There's a decent amount of those. And then there's actually some people who like really like the new update and don't want the old update, but would be willing to like kind of go to a middle ground. And there's the people that and then there's like the really hard either side where they hate this update and want the old one, or they like this update and hate the old one. Like it's so spread out amongst everybody.
But that's
it's so interesting to see. And I like if I was working at the coalition, I was looking at it. Like what I would take from my forum post, or like the forum post that I posted, was that like there really is a lot of separation over the new era of Gears and the old era of Gears, quote unquote, like with the way people want things to be played. But there is a balance between the two, and like there's the balance that we can hit, and we haven't hit that balance yet. That balance is within the movement, but also in like the damages. That's just why I was like putting the point out there. Like there is a balance there that we haven't even like leaked into. And I think since Gears 3, we haven't really hit this point of finding a good balance between weapon damages and movement, because like both sides aren't. There hasn't been a point where we've had both like the casual community and the competitive community happy with an update. In all fairness, Gears 4 was completely different tunings, but for Gears 5, Coalition has that challenge of finding that middle ground. And I don't know if they haven't spoken to us, right? Like me as a pro player, or us in general as like a public Twitter post, but they haven't openly said like, all right, like we're looking at this balance still. We're looking at like the movement and weapon balance. Like if we're gonna have, and Node Zero is not stupid, right? Me and Ash were having a conversation the other day. Node Zero is not stupid. I've had many conversations with the guy, and over the last couple years, his like intelligence with Gears has grown. I think it's from the conversations with pro players. He does this on a day-to-day basis for the last multiple years of his life. He's not stupid.
He's very detailed in his work. I can definitely
exactly.
He's very detailed in his work.
He's not dumb. This happened for a reason, like for whether it was like an agreed upon reason or just whatever it was. He did this for a reason. Okay. And like having conversations with other people of the coalition, I know they're not stupid too. Like someone like Jim Bob and Strangulate up there, the coalition. Like I've had many conversations with them, and they're also not stupid. We've all known Strangulate for how many years. So like, we know they're not dumb up there. And I don't know what it's gonna take for them to get to this understanding that they need to look at the weapons and the movement, but I think there needs to be the conversations of weapon
Kenny,
and movement, because that's only going to bring people both like together.
To be honest,
what?
It's patience. I don't think and they had a bad problem.
I was going to say something along those lines.
No, because it's literally, I hate to say it, but do you really think September, like late September, early October to December, you think 3 months is enough time for you to go, okay, right now we're slow, but we have these problems with these guns, and they change one gun, but then instead of saying let's keep working on the gun list and see if that we can get that to match up, like instead of working, like I have to use the analogy because it's what I know best.
Yeah.
Somebody comes to me for a lesson and their driver's really good, but they suck with their short irons and their putting is subpar, but like it's better than you'd expect. You don't just go to their short irons, get them to a spot, and then say, all right, let's go straight to putting. You will keep working on those short irons until you get 2/3 of their golf game into the correct area you want it. And then you go, all right, now let's go to the putting green and figure out what's wrong. Is it stroke? Is it momentum? Whatever it might be. So for me, I look at it as, I think they just needed patience. If they had just left the movement, like the slide, all that where it was, and continued to tone down, tone up. I know we don't have exact numbers. I don't think we have exact numbers.
No, we don't.
All right, let's bring this back one step. Let's take this forward 2 steps. Let's see if we can get this into a place with the movement we started out with, instead of saying, all right, let's get the marks out of the way, and then let's take basically 50% of our game, which is the movement, and change that, rather than taking the 50% or like the 5% of the Lancer, the 5% of the Hammer Burst, because I break all the weapons up into different percentages.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. No, I agree. It probably was just a patience thing then. I don't know. Maybe it was.
But
the Gears of War community is pretty outspoken. Like even with us in that dev stream, like we were pretty childish and toxic with the way we handled that. But at the same point,
but understand the climate though.
Frustration.
But yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. But we gotta like the perception and this is the climate. You come off of Gears 4 and it's like, okay, oh my God, Gears 5 is dropping. We've heard so much great things about it. So many high hopes. The entire world is about to watch us and come look at the game, and we fail, right? And so then at that point, it was like, all right, well, it's gonna get picked back up, the servers. Then it was like, all right, now then the tuning here and there. And then it was like, all right, well, we're gonna be patient, we're gonna give it time. But to recognize that this patience started in Gears 4, and it was supposed to be and going into this game. So now it's just that everybody just wants to, it's just like, all right, okay, when are we going to get here? And people handle their frustrations differently, People do it. Anytime that everybody is able to release it as a group, they hop on it, right? Rather if it's through Twitter, Twitch chat, if they're like, yo, the group is relieving some stress, I'm about to hop in here and relieve some stress too as well, because my patience is done. And then they go in.
Twitter that night was really funny. They definitely crossed the line. Yeah, they crossed the line for sure, but that was a funny night of Twitter. I enjoyed that night of Twitter.
but that's what happens, right? Then everybody's like, we're all gonna just hop in here together because we're all frustrated in that sense, and we've had that patience, and but we do know that, like, I do feel like that, as we all do, that it's smart people over there. We can get to that point. It's just like, all right, when?
Yeah.
Which update is it? TU4, 5, 6? Do you think it's respectfully 7? Like, what is it?
My man said respectfully 7.
If they change, here's my one thing, and I think they have like a bad thing coming from. They made a statement before this stream started saying that the next title update is coming out on the 21st, and they'll have notes on the 20th. They're gonna fix the Nasher because the Nasher is broken, and it is broken at this moment. If they don't release something saying something about the movement on the 20th in their patch notes, they might have hell break loose again on Twitter.
And they need
with the comp community.
And so what the comp community wants is for them to say, we are making an adjustment to slow the game down. Because what I took away from the one developer stream that they was talking about the movement was that they were technically looking at part 2 of one. They was looking at part 2 of it, like a 2 to 3 part update of them progressing through the movement. But as we were saying, like at the beginning of the podcast, that's a nice place for that, developer playlist for you to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Didn't COD used to have like a dev playlist whenever they would release new maps? They'd try out the tuning with the new maps in that specific playlist. Didn't they do something like that?
I'm a bad person to ask. I have no idea.
For COD, I wouldn't put it past them. I believe that they probably have, but that's 3 developers,
it's more of just the concept. I think they actually did do that. So I'm trying to look for precedent is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, they did. Somebody
else has done it, so it's not impossible to think of or do.
And he said, as me and Kenny said earlier, like, they can. It's just it's a time thing, right? And that's what we all have to understand too. And this is where it's just like a person like me and even Kenny too as well, who is who has conversations with them. You understand that it's a small team. It's still a small team in the game development world, compared to some of the, Blizzards and the Activisions out there. And, it's a lot of stuff to be done there. And so it's like, you have a lot of empathy over there, but then also it's a lot of empathy on the competitive side too, because, if you, meet somebody who's came from there, I understand the longest of time where you're like, okay, When is it gonna happen? You know, this is what we've been trying to say for a long time, since Hype 3, or even before that. Even when, you know, points that we tried to make with Epic before they switched games, you know. And we've kind of been unlucky that we've had like 2 different game developers, 3 if you want to count Judgment. People make our game. All of them kind of having visions of it. And, you know, so if you've been playing Comp Gears for that long, this is something that's been a very long issue. Hence, you know, some of our best personalities left a long time ago, you know? So, yeah.
Some of the biggest names on Twitch right now.
And it's a reason. Gears has some of the best personality out there when it comes to players. That is a fact.
I really think
we just,
like,
you
right
know,
now
always
too,
need the views.
I can think of at least 2 to 3 players, if they stopped playing Gears and just streamed on a daily basis and went to a different community, they'd follow the Nick Merck CDN kind of thing.
People will gravitate to them just because they're like, oh man, what's up with this energy? Like, what is it?
I'm actually kind of surprised that Excels with his stream didn't really like he's been doing well with it, but I'm surprised he hasn't hit like a higher point with his stream thing, because he's got one of those personalities. But
he does.
I also know he's also pretty negative. So
yeah, it's that, and then, you know, I don't know if Chris streams with his camera on, but like, you know, when you go on a stream grind, there are things that you can do that will get you to the top, but you can also be the high distortion route where you're just fucking good at everything that you do, and you don't matter your attitude, because when you hit the game, you're gonna turn the fuck up. But even Jimmy even had to you know, develop a softer side than what he used to be, you know, to you know, and he got viewers who love him for it, right? And I'm pretty sure he's had more fans because of doing that.
Yep. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. All right, sure. What was yeah, sure. What was the last topic that we was talking about? We didn't went off on a rant where we didn't hit.
We definitely haven't talked about Pro League.
We were discussing like Kenny's post from the forum, but we got off on the rant.
Yeah, and then
because we went on the rant, basically started with the separation of the community, and then we started talking about how the personalities of the community. That's the rabbit hole we fell into.
Those are conversations I love. I love when we can go in a rabbit hole together and be like, yo, it's kind of deep and it's kind of dark, but y'all down, and you like, I'm down and we down, so we here for it. The chat's down.
Kind of what?
When you go for it, but hey, shh. So, but the next thing, one of the things that I want to talk about is that, you know, Vero Prodigy, if he's out there, shout out to him, you know, old Gears fam out there, but he had mentioned the rank system, because, you know, that's the one thing that they say they're making updates towards it, but that is the number one thing that I feel like is that even if the game plays out a certain way, if people get some value out of being good, right? If they played this game that's so difficult, Gears is not an easy game to play, and that's why we all love it, right? But you want to be able to get praise from somewhere. You want to be able to be at home, you shouldn't be able to have to talk to nobody. You should be able to just pick up the game and play, have an enjoyable experience, and the game should be able to praise you for your success and for you being a good player that day. And also too, but the rank needs to, you know, balance players of skill level better as well. So but it needs to.
Well, they also you give me your thoughts on this, Blaze, because I'm actually curious from y'all's perspective. One of the things they added in this game, and I know a lot of people say that the skins don't look good to begin with, but they added the skins for earning the master ranks in Versus, just like they added skins for people like me, where like if you get one of the top 5 percentiles in escape modes, you get special skins for that. And if you get a certain high percentage in Horde, you get a special skin for that. Is that like the start of the carrot on the stick for people to play more ranked, where it's like, hey, look, you could get this personal skin or this 1 in 100,000 skin that nobody else can use?
I think that ranked rewards is definitely one of them, right? Like, even when I'm playing Apex, I want my fucking Predator trail, because when I'm dropping, I want you to know that I'm the truth, all right? Follow me if you want to. But you want those type of rewards for the grind, number one. But when you start the grind, it needs to be smooth and not rigid. And that's the best analogy I can give you, because the grind feels like it's a rigid one, you know.
Okay, so it's almost like you want stepping stones, like making yourself get to bronze, other than just the bronze lancer and snub that you get for whatever playlist. Instead of just getting that, like, oh, you've achieved the rank of bronze in escalation, here's a bronze escalation specific lancer. So like, oh man, I got this. I'm working my way there.
I think it's a bit overkill.
Silver. You think that's overkill?
I think it's a bit overkill. I don't think there should be anything for bronze. It's the same way in League. I don't know if you're an iron, bronze, and silver, you don't get shit. It does not matter what you do, how you do it. You don't get anything for like finishing.
It's just like a basic, but it's like the most basic of basic rewards. I forget what Apex does. They just say, "Hey, we appreciate you for playing ranked. Here's a loot box." You know,
that was gonna be my next point. Is like, I feel like they need to kind of get rid of this, like everybody gets a trophy mentality, and really like make the ranked rewards feel like you want to get somewhere. Because imagine if instead of being in bronze, silver, and gold, like you had to wait until you got to is it plat or onyx in this game? That's how long I haven't played ranked.
It's onyx.
Okay, so
master.
you have to hit onyx, diamond, then master to get, or maybe gold. Maybe you could throw gold in there. Like you can hit gold, onyx, plat, master, and you get rewards. Right?
Yeah.
They need to make it where you feel like you want to hit a certain point to get a reward, because then you're like, all right, I hit that point, and I'm happy I hit this point because I got this reward. Right? Like it's set a goal for people with the rewards. The rewards need to be better, but it's not good that it's everybody gets a trophy mentality, because they're just trying to keep people by rewarding everybody, and it doesn't really reward everybody.
And even if you want to, like, you know, pimp us out and give us free stuff, and you want to make us feel good, and, you know, spend money on us, awesome, right? Give us the rewards. But, you know, the thing is that I want to feel like I went on a grind. I went on a successful grind and a meaningful grind to get the best rewards that was there, right? But getting matched up against equal skill players, and I will talk that we can talk in a whole rant about that one, but I just think that getting matched up with equally skilled players is the most important thing that needs to be focused on, and just so people fall in the proper rank.
Years ranked has never been a solid place though. Like
it hasn't. Yeah,
I think if you want to talk about patience, like Years of War players, competitive or not, with ranked have had to have the greatest patience since the beginning of time, since 2006 on ranked. Imagine queuing it or going into ranked in Gears 1. It's a lobby finder. You go play a ranked game that isn't even a real ranked system, and you see Halo 2 and Halo 3 having this cool ass rank system, and then you get back on Gears and you don't really have a rank system. Like Gears has always been like
we've been hoping for a rank system since Halo, since Halo 3. Yeah. We've been waiting for a rank system since Halo 3, Halo 2, and we still ain't got one.
I feel like it's not that hard.
We got one. Because the thing is that
we have
it's about how you value the players, how you value skillful actions, and how you are equating these numbers. And so, you know, granted, the pace and play style of the game and what makes a great player is super important along the grand scheme of things in ranking people equally. Because, you know, just because when it comes down to the pace of it and how it's being played in that sense is definitely, you know, there. But because the thing is that it's like playing escalation, and when it was best of 7, you needed comms for that. And most of the time on Xbox, you're not going to get comms with nobody. So the pace of the game will just slowing it down makes everybody smart as a whole. So you should technically get a better ranked experience is what I was trying to say. But on the flip end is that, you know, the support players, you know, people who are supporting, how is their damage being valued? I was happy with the capping of the rings. Those points went down lower because the scoreboard became, you know, more meaningful of who was actually being productive around a map, you know? And that if I was to go into a ranked game and I dropped 100 eliminations, that's phenomenal. That's dope. Give me a fuck ton of points so I can get away from everybody else that allowed me to drop 100 eliminations, right? So it's how you value in those numbers and what technically is the most important. And as I said before, when it comes down to Gears, is that before, like through Gears 1, our scoreboard actually told the story of who did well. You know, Gears 1, you can see somebody on the scoreboard with like 400 points, and you was easily able to do the math. You know, you take the 25s off the kills, you take the 10s off the revive, and you're like, damn, they had 100 points of damage? You know? That guy's amazing for even doing that. And especially with the numbers being a lot lower, everybody was able to process them. If you want to even go there, you know, you can almost say that, you know, that's even like, that's a UI thing when it comes down to just how users kind of process, you know, how meaningful those games are. You know, sometimes maybe it'd be easier to calculate lower numbers than, have a ton up there. But regardless of the fact is, it's about making it simple and valuing those players to get a better experience. And I think that's where we fail at a lot sometimes. So
It's sometimes.
Sometimes.
Most
Most. You know me, I'm optimistic, man. I am what I am. You know,
you've got a great point, Blaze. But one of the things that hurts certain players, like, and I think I tried to bring it up many moons ago when we were at the Columbus Invitational. I talked to Dana about it because it's one of the things that you find a lot of success with in your streams, and I'm not sure how many other pro players or how many people in the community do it, but I don't know if they find the same success with it. I love, and even if I'm not getting to play on the team, even if you rotate us out and I just am sitting back watching you play with other of your viewers, like if your 4 viewers are brand new to Gears, but they're all communicating with you and they're trying their damnedest, but you lose the game, you're still imparting this knowledge, but your rank is going to get hurt. And I was like, damn, there just needs to be some incentive for people to be able to impart that knowledge and play with those noobs and try to get them to the place where they're confident enough to go launch ranked without having, like Kenny on his team type thing. I almost wish there was like a protection for people of that. I kind of disagree with you to be able to do that.
And the reason why I kind of disagree with you, because I think that one issue is that when it comes down to rank, you win, everybody, your whole team wins. The team that won, and the team that lost loses, right? My middle ground to that was that if I lost and I did really well, then I'm not only losing a little points, right? I'm not losing a ton of points, but I'm only losing 100 points compared to the worst player on my team. He lost 1,000 because he was really trash. You know what I'm saying?
I like the idea of Apex applying that to Gears, and it's best shown through execution, like with the mindset of it, because it's gonna be like different for certain games, because like for the game modes, like it's gonna be hard to say it's for King though. But imagine execution game first to 5, right? 5v5 first to 5. Okay, let's say you got 5-0'd, but on your team you dropped 8 kills. You had 8 kills and a 5-0 loss. Like I feel like kind of like an Apex, where if you make it to a certain point of the game, you got a certain amount of kills, you will gain points for that loss, right?
Okay.
I don't think you should gain points for the loss, but I think there should be a kill thing that is clearly said.
It's like
and then you
get above average, you can't lose points anymore.
Exactly. And even if it's like you lose like 100 points, like it's just like,
it's almost small. Like and the one thing that when you said that, the first thing that came to my mind, and it may sound crazy, but this is like, all right, you add up whatever the points was, you add up all 10 players' points, and if somehow it was a point, you got points based off the middle ground of that, then technically people who did really well on either team would get points, right? But that's kind of too complicated, I guess.
Yeah, I think that would.
But I get what you. But yeah, right. But it's just you cut it in half. You find the middle between all 10 players, and then you average the points based off a point system. But regardless, I like what you said. But based off kills, right? Based off those eliminations.
What it boils down to, I think, is looking at each rank. Like, let's say they kept the ranks the way they were: bronze, silver, gold, diamond, master. You look at a bronze. Like, you look at 10 true skill bronze players, and their average King of the Hill points is 1,200. If I get to 1,200, but my team loses, I only lose a maximum of 100 points because I've done average or better. When it gets to silver, the points for King of the Hill go up to 1,850. You get to gold, it's got to be 2K or bust type thing. I think that's how you'd have to break it down.
Yep, I think that's the only way that would kind of implement what they're looking for with this current rank system.
No, yeah, it needs to. I get what you know. I feel you on that. Well, because and pretty much to just clarify what he said and simplify more is that outside of however the rank system would normally rank you and give you points, that there still was an addition of points that you can get based off of your individual success, which can probably be best translated by eliminations, is what you're saying, right?
Yep.
And that would definitely allow you to lose less points based off your skill, but also even put you in a position of possibly even gain points because you played so well, and even though y'all took an L, you know. Yep. and theoretically, in a longer span, that if the pace of the game was right, the pace of the game was different than what it was, because I don't want to say what's right and what's not because that's the debate. But if the pace of the game was more on a tactical side, that those points should be able to even out more because any player who is running around trying to wall bounce crazy gets punished for that type of play style, you know? So, they just, everybody has better chances at making equal plays. So, yeah. All right. So, yeah, that was shoot. We definitely talked about a lot. I feel like we're coming up towards like an hour of this podcast, and we didn't talk about Pro League, and we didn't talk about your San Diego experience, but we can almost even save Pro League for a different time, though. But I am curious to know, how was it winning an event though? How was it to win?
So I'm gonna explain it like this. Well, one, that was the best feeling win that I've had since my UE win, UE or the first Gears 4 win I had with Optic. And the reason I say that is because it hit a point with Optic where winning didn't it was just winning was the normal with them. So it just took away from every single win, even though every single win is a big accomplishment. That's you the fact that with Icy we won 5 events in a row, and with Lava we won 4 in a row or something like that. We won depending on how you look at it, was 3 or 4 in a row, something like that. We were getting in a 6 event season, the fact we were winning 4 events or 3, whatever it was, that was we went 5-1, whatever the hell it was. That should mean a lot, but it didn't, right? This winning San Diego after going through the stuff that I went through for the last year and a half, where I get dropped and I go to Echo and the roster immediately is struggling. It was just a struggling roster right there. Then we bring in Icy and replace Kaid with Icy, and then we're still struggling. We go to NOLA, come close, but we still we beat our expectations, quote unquote beat our expectations after seeing how we were playing because of how well we did on Sunday. It was just a lot of failure for someone who is used to being successful to then finally go to this event and go through multiple scenarios of being down and coming back, and even in grand finals being down 2-0 and coming back. It felt it was one of the best feeling wins. It's definitely in my top 3 for wins, just because of
there's the struggles leading up
people,
to it.
Exactly. If people went through with if people followed my exact same Gears path and hit the point I did right after Vegas with Optic and getting
the peak, and you went back down to the bottom. It was you was at you was at the pinnacle of your Gears of War career, and you was doing what you had to do, and then. And especially, and that was one of the things about esports. That's one of the things about esports, and even around that time, and why they got a lot of criticism in it. But it was just a player could be playing well. He could be doing his job and being the best, and could be winning, and still lose it all, and have to go back to the bottom and square one. And for you to do that, and to crawl back up, and then go into San Diego and hoist a fucking trophy, and then be the first Gears player to win 4 titles, a title in 4 different games.
Just hearing
come
all that, I think it felt
shit. Come on. I don't know about y'all, chat, whoever watching it at home, but y'all got to give the boy some props for that, right? Flames, yo, I feel you. Good shit.
Yeah, and that's one of the craziest things that people don't understand, because a lot of people don't see the Gears is Gears, right? People don't see when you play Gears, you have to have this level of confidence, and you can't show weakness, kind of thing. But what people don't realize is over the last year and a half, and the only person who really knows this from me is Taylor. Obviously, Taylor and my family. The shit I went through for the last year and a half, and the way my mentality at certain points, going into Mexico with Demo, Soto, Sam, Lava, when we went to that event, and how bad it was leading up to it, and how miserable things were. My legitimate goal for that event was to get at least 5th, 6th.
Yeah.
And that's for somebody who has the pride that I have, to openly go into an event and say, okay, my goal is 5th, 6th.
Oh no.
That just shows the mental toughness that I guess was needed on a daily basis to Like I felt like I was being tortured at certain points. Like it's nothing against them. Like that it wasn't
Yeah,
what was happening to me wasn't specifically happening because of them. Just the team just wasn't working out.
that's a
A
huge
bunch of
shift.
good players and it wasn't yeah, it was something very difficult. I would love to see someone like like maybe Gilbert or Billy because they've always been successful. Like that is like since they've stepped foot on land, their first land placement was third. I
Yeah,
think their first land placement was third. Actually, Gilbert's first was second. Billy's was fourth because it was hype 3, and then they went to hype 4 after that, and they got third together.
but
And
but
then it's always been successful.
it's
Like
always.
being top 3 is successful, like quote unquote successful.
And I want to
Yeah,
say
the
this about those. I want to say this real quick about those two players is that, and especially even just about that optic roster, right? Because I tried to explain this to people the best way that I could throughout the entire Gears 4 season of why nobody could beat those boys. They understood the game type and just the respawn game types in Gears on a completely different level than a lot of other people. Hence why the skill gap was what it was, and for you to
it wasn't
lose
even a
that.
skill gap.
But not
It was a team gap.
yeah, the
Like
team,
I think that's the
yeah,
best way to say it. It's a
yeah,
team
and
gap.
so yeah, to lose that team gap, that type of connection, and to try to build that is something that is so damn difficult because it starts on an individual player basis for them to be able to understand. And a lot of players are just like, yeah, man, I get it, I feel you. Yo, I get the vibes all the time. Yeah, I do that. Yep, I hear you. Bet. Cool. Gotcha. You know,
I could say this confidently for someone who's fallen down and then came back up again. Going down, players are so far off from if they even think they're close to Gilbert, Billy, like the top players, like dude,
mm-hmm.
like I hate to break it to you, but like you're not. Like the things those players bring to the table, things even like with my current roster right now, this like the way Vic plays, like people just think Vic is like just the slayer, and people think of like Billy and Gilbert, they're just like slayers, right? And Gilbert's a leader, but they're both slayers. That's not even true whatsoever. Like
Mm-hmm.
I see Gilbert Lancer more than a lot of players. I see like Billy Lancer more than a lot of players. Billy has sacrificed his life for his teammates more than any like not more than any other player, but like more than any other like people realize like that he sacrificed his life. He's a good teammate and a good player, and then for Gilbert, he's also a good leader. It applies to both of them.
And
And it's
they
the same thing
understand
for
that
my
it's any given
teammates now.
that sometimes it's any given day, right? Sometimes the
Yep.
Florida game may go in a direction that weekend where you are the entry player, right? Rather does
Yep.
that mean that you are entry to the entry fragger to get in 3 kills, or you are the entry player to distract, and you know that you're lucky if you get one. But most importantly, you're getting behind to turn heads for your teammates to get a better opening, right? Like little fundamental plays like that, sometimes people don't get, right? And they don't get
Exactly.
that they have to make it for the greater good of the success of the play. But you have to understand what your team is trying to accomplish at every given push, and also get that where you are in the lineup as you're approaching a
Yep.
fight. And just understanding that it just reduces the amount of vocal communication that needs to be had there, and you get a better synergy
Why
on the
why do you think
teamwork.
they're so quiet besides Gilbert? Like that's a quiet ass team. Going from that team of like 2 years
They're in the map.
to
That's the best. They are in the
yeah,
map
no,
watching their
they actually
surroundings. They are at
yep.
war. Versus
It was
playing a
so
video
hard.
game, they are there.
It's so hard to and I said this in my interview before we played grand finals. Like when we beat Mazer, I said this is the best team I've had since Optic. And I truly feel that. Like I feel like this team, the team I currently have, if we stick to like if we lost Mexico, right? And like the roster is like if we don't have some gears bullshit happen pretty much is what I'm saying. Um if this roster stuck together and continue to grow and continue to just play how we're like currently playing, but like
Mm-hmm.
obviously you need to improve. Like if we stuck together and kept the same mindsets, this team would be just as good or better than that Optic roster. And I see that from when I'm playing with them because those little things we're talking about, people sacrificing for other teammates. Everybody
Yep.
can go off, everybody can shine. People understand the overall objective, people are feeling the map. There's more communication here and there's more that needs to be said. But all 5 players on my team can think. All 5 players on my team like know what they need to do to win rounds, to win maps. When we were
Yeah.
losing, we knew immediately, like, all right, like we're not doing something right. What are we not doing right? All right, we're playing like speds again. Let's stop playing like speds. Let's play to help each other. We start doing everything team wise perfectly. You saw us come back from 4-0. We needed to play picture perfect against a really good EU's finest team. You could say that kind of took their
Yeah.
confidence out for the weekend or something. Like we had to play picture perfect, come back and win, and that's what it felt like in a lot of the maps we were coming back. Like
Yeah.
it was 3-2, but then like we just 3-0'd you. Like you didn't even have a chance in
And yeah,
any of those rounds. We played perfect. It was done.
And another layer on that, and especially like I say, as like casters, I try to always let the audience understand that it was multiple options on how they approach that fight, on how they could have possibly approached that fight, rather than just they're running out with their shotgun straight down, head down, and getting chaotic. Granted, whatever the micro level play is in there. And that was one thing I was happy with the spectating on, kind of showing that overhead angle, and that and
The spectating was really good.
while it was super helpful, it's more about the audience, right? Like it's more about the audience and understanding that they just did something cool as a unit, right? And there was multiple options that they could have approached this, but this is why they're the best players in the world and why they're smart. And you need to be understanding that you have multiple different ways to approach fights rather than head down with your shotgun and to go home and be a better Gears player. So we can, get you at these events. So.
And that's kind of I feel like this kind of touches back to like this update compared to the last one. Like I feel like a lot of players do just want to run forward with their shotguns and just head down, whether it's competitive or ranked. Like in ranked, you obviously there's more head down that's going to happen. You're not like a team with your teammates in ranked, for the most part. So like most people just want to head down and get the relief or like the I like just get the rewards from head downing and being like a sped and just winning with their shotgun, rather than like seeing that Gears is such a complex game. As non-complex as the coalition wants to make Gears, like
It
in a
is
sense, like
beautifully
Gears
complex,
is very,
though.
yeah, and it's always has been. Gears has always been crazily complex.
That's why we got 6 gears.
Yeah.
Six,
Exactly.
6.5.
Seriously.
And
that's
I might have to go to Gears Tactics to get my tactical gears, imagine.
Maybe.
That's how Gears
was
Tactics
fun,
is the
man.
new
Let's go.
esports. What's up?
Real-time
Gears
strategy single player. Let's go.
Let's pop off. Shit.
Why is there no like? Because you used to play Halo Wars, right?
Yes, sir.
I played once or
So
twice.
so Gears Tactics is pretty much like it's pretty similar to Halo Wars, right? It's like the same kind of game.
That's the feeling I'm getting.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the same feeling I'm getting.
Same.
Why can't I have my army of people against your army of people like in Halo Wars? You know what I mean? Like, why is it just single player? Because I felt like that was fun in Halo Wars when you played 1-on-1s or 2-on-2s.
Because I think like once you so this is just my best guess. The reason why they don't want to do something like that is because in Halo you take the Master Chief out and it is just army versus army. Gears is not built around one singular character. It's built around these beautifully woven storylines of all these different characters from all these different backgrounds and nationalities in the world of Sarah. So you can't just, all right, there's no Master Chief, so now it's this army versus this army. No, this is the story of Marcus Phoenix. This is the story of Dominic Santiago. This is the story of Augustus Cole. This is I think that's why they do it in that manner where it's much more visceral. It's much more intimate because Gears, unlike any other game in history, has always had that ability to be visceral and intimate all at once. You get this feeling of you are that character without actually ever being that character much more because you can identify personality traits and the way that they move and act and snarkiness and all that good shit.
So from what I'm understanding, it's more of like a connection thing with the fan base than the fan base being able to play amongst each other with these certain like armies. They want to really it's almost like I don't want to say a lore thing, but it's kind of like
it's like an extended universe thing, man. Like you know how Star Wars had like the Star Wars games where you just played the movies, and then they came out with like Knights of the Old Republic.
Star Wars. I've seen those,
but like Star Wars for the longest time had like the Star Wars games where you just played through spots of the movies or things that related to the movies, and then they started coming out with an extended universe stuff. This is more like just like extended universe lore because you play as the father of Kate.
Okay, I get you. I'm understanding, even though I've never seen Star Wars.
That's Whatever.
I know what you're talking about. I've seen those games.
Stop making me the biggest nerd in the room, all right?
But I love you for that. Like,
not do that.
Like I think
that's part of what makes you you. Like it's just...
and that's why we love you. And around here, Twitch.tv/Blaze, YouTube.com/Blaze, and whatever Spotify it is, probably got Blaze. That we always love you to just be you, and no matter who you are, at the end of the day, be yourself. I was watching the Breakfast Club podcast today, and Will Smith was on there. It came out about like 4 days ago. And he said that, my whole life, I was like, I was Will Smith, and it got me to, a certain point to pay my bills and everything like that. But, Will Smith had his limits, and I didn't want, people's opinions of Will Smith to change. But, at a point, it wasn't me, and, so I tell you guys all that. And especially for gamers, right? Gamers are kind of like that, too, in a sense of, like, especially just when it comes down to our ego. Like, you hop on Xbox, and sometimes you act like exactly who you are, or sometimes a completely different person than you are in real life, So just always be yourself and fuck what everybody else got to say. And that's just, my message I'm going to drop on everybody today. Be you. Unapologetically be you at all times. All right. Yeah, so
that's a good message.
Yeah, sure. That's for real. Especially in this internet age, everybody got something to say all the time. Everybody want to comment on your business. Everybody got an opinion on your shit, and it's just like, yo, calm down. Relax. Cool. I appreciate you, and us as people need to understand that that's just how the world is. Everybody want to say something, and then they want to get clicky about it sometimes, or they just want to do them, and just we got to understand that that's people, and just be like, okay, cool, I got you. Have a good day and keep it rolling. Hell, keep it rolling. But all right, man. It's we could go into. I say we can go into pro league stuff another time. Well, we can talk. I don't know why not, right? We can talk about it briefly. We're going into two. We're going into two. Actually, no, because I was gonna say we're going into like over an hour and a half, and if somebody sees
pro league until we know who qualifies for.
Correct. Yeah.
It'd be kind of hard to talk about pro league.
It is, and we can save that for a different time.
How if they're changing the format, if they're like doing anything different, like we
Spoiler
have
alert.
no idea.
Spoiler alert! Next week's Gears Unlimited episode, that's gonna be stuff that we are gonna kind of talk about on that, where we'll give you guys a nice little recap of stuff that happened during the fall quarter, people who's being placed into the league, and the transitions and stuff that we had happen. So. It's always gonna be a nice little beautiful little update episode, and I think I'll be doing that with Lisa, so we'll have some fun on that.
I'm gonna say, you gonna start it off with like the Dragon Ball Z narrator, where he's like, "Last time on Gears Pro League Live."
Hey, I might do it. I might do that. Thank you, Colin, for the idea. I can do shit like that. By all means. So that's dope on that one, and so and yeah, I think that when it comes down to the hot seat, I enjoy having you here, Colin. I think what I'm gonna do is, especially like how I want to kind of rebrand it, because before it was a nice one-on-one show. It was one-on-one show. We had like a lot of topics, and because it was more so about understanding the player, and who they are and what they're about, and that's stuff that we're still gonna be able to do. But I think it's nice if I get at least one other talent member here with me. And then, we can do somebody. We can do one or two people. But I'm more so like just having one player guest. So, and the idea and the goal is I would love to do this every Friday until the Gears 5 season is over. Every Friday, I would love to get every single pro player and get them on here and for them to talk about what they like that day, what they don't like that day, why they still playing, what they about, and who are they? And why should the Gears community love them? Why should the Gears community subscribe to them, buy into them? Why should they support them? Why should somebody be a fan of you? And, I love for us to, we need to get more of those stories out. TC and Rose and them do a great job with the player pieces, but, it's still a way for us to get out there and to have a platform so that everybody could just learn more about Gears players if they want to, and who are they, right? And what you guys about, because and if any of you pro players out there watching, or any players out, or any streamers or personalities, do better, do what you got to do to be better understood and be better liked. If that's if you plan on kind of making a career off of that, in a sense, and where you want to be a pro player or a content creator. Tell people why they should like you, man. Who are you? Let them know so people can relate to you more, and they can support you better. So And that's what we want. You know, we want more people to say, I love these Gears players, man. That's the reason why we all still here. It is like when we are all happy and having fun, and even with a little alcohol in our system, it's a great time. Even without the alcohol, it is great times.
With Gears people, like
it's so fun to be around. We're
Sunday
just so
nights
raw.
are actually like there's you don't know which day or which like day of the weekend or Sunday that is gonna be one of those like nights that you just have a
one
great
of those
time
legendary
with a bunch of Gears people.
nights.
Yeah, I feel like one of those nights for me was Sunday night in San Diego. That I just ended up like going to multiple places with a group of Gears people, and then somehow, and I don't know how this ended up being a thing, but a group of them ended back up in my hotel room, and we were playing like Mario Tennis or something. So there's like probably 10 to 12 people in the room, and we don't know how it happened because it was just mine and Taylor's rooms. 10 to 12 people ended up in our room, and then right next door was it Dylan's room? I think it was Dylan's room, Dylan Ryan's room, something like that. Like there's just a group of people in there too, and there's just somehow the night ended with winning the event, going to dinner, going to a bar, and then people coming back to our hotel room. It's just a fun night.
And that's the experiences that we all love to tell stories about, and that's the reason why a lot of people still go for the possibility or the guarantee of nights like those. I remember I used to be able to just go to any event I went to. I was able to grab my lanyard, grab the PAL, and tell a story from that event that was just something that was just legendary and that stood out. But at the end of the day, when the game's aside, the community is very close. We're like family. It's all love. Even at the end of the day, that's just what it is. So, and that's why we are what we are today, and that's why Gears still has a breath of life because of that love and that little heartbeat that we've been keeping alive for 10, 12 years. You know what I'm saying? Like we've been going for a hot minute. It's a reason why. It's a reason why. So.
Not that people want to think about this because I definitely don't. I think that's part of the reason why I'm still here is during that down period, like there's points where I did think about not playing anymore. Like there's like as I said, people don't know the full mindset. There's points where I thought about not playing anymore, and a big reason why I didn't is because like the thought of not having Gears in my life and not competing is just something I'm not ready to accept yet. Mm-hmm. So if that day is ever forced upon everybody,
then so be it.
That's gonna be a hard. Yeah,
it's gonna be a hard day.
It's gonna be so hard for everybody because people understand how much everybody really loves this Gear stuff. Like even people in the moment, like I've understood my love for Gears through like what I went through last year and a half, but people really don't understand how much they love Gears until it's potentially something they don't have anymore, like quote unquote.
Yeah, I had a baby. Shit, I didn't have Gears in my life, okay? That's what happened to me. I had a damn baby, during that 2012 to 13 gap. And I was like, what else I'm going to do in my life? Oh, I know, I'm going to get out here.
You gotta sow some seeds, Blake.
I'm gonna live my best life now. Now I'm not grinding 12 to 16 hours a day trying to just be the best Gears players because I love this, right? One or two things happen is everybody goes to a different game, or next thing you know, Hype 5 is about to go down or something like that.
Barbosa comes out of
like the Belichick gif when you just hear that WWE. Wait a minute, hold up, no, he's not. Is that CDM behind him? No, they're not. Is that Burger? Joey Sal's? The old squad? Oh my God. Hype's coming back. Murray's here too. Waldo. Oh, okay.
I got bad news about Waldo. That man.
Waldo living his best life.
He's living the greatest life of all.
Living the greatest life.
Every time I see Waldo's face, I'm like, you just look happy. I don't know what you're doing with your life, but you look like a happy trip.
I love Waldo. He is so happy. Everything's going good. And I love seeing hard-working people, get the benefits, So,
we're really coming up on 2 hours.
Yeah, no. Yeah, we are, which is cool. That's why I was like, no, we gonna save Pro League for a whole nother episode. And rather, if you wanna, come be a guest on that one, cool too, because we don't always have to do one-offs, but every Friday, if we can get the talking and just make it a staple and we can get it uploaded and, people can kind of go watch their podcast, get some Gears stuff. You can get Unlimited, go to Gears Unlimited. You can get your scores and your updates of the league and, talk to some cool guests and, You know, you got your competitive show. It's just that, you know, as a community, we just need to slowly do things. And also UMG, and on Wednesdays, as it's announced, they're doing their they got their show going on. What is it, the qualifiers?
It's
They get the
It's a,
qualifiers and the emergence days.
yeah.
and the emergence days, right?
The
So they
final
got, hey, Ryan and them, they doing their thing over there. And you know, they got their content there. So, you know, Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays, Sundays, you know, it's stuff on Gears for you to watch and engage with and listen with and share and to discuss with and to, you know, start some good conversations out there. Let people know what's up. It's a universal thing across the board. It's a family thing. So yeah, so hopefully, you know, the winter season is upon us, leading up to the Super Bowl of all Gears events of Mexico City, where I think it's going to be the wildest. Don't forget, in their Challenger Series, they still be having like 100+ teams playing in that. You know, any open team from the U.S. that comes, it's going to be a bloodbath, and those guys are really like the heart of Gears down. Like,
hey Blaze. Somebody in your chat just said it. We can't forget about EGL and all the hard work.
Oh yeah. We can't forget about EGL. All right, on Mondays. Thank you guys for holding it down. Okay?
Toby Campbell and my main man
Fru and Ton. Big shout out to Ton because you know, Ton is doing fantastic. I've always had the pleasure of casting with Ton over there at COD, and you know, I'm very happy with how he's hosting the Gear Show over there. EGL, as I said, had the best Pro League broadcast, especially of the fall quarter. Well, we're going to be coming for their necks in the winter quarter. All right. And, you know, and much shout out to the people over there. Not Game Alta, but, you know, the ones who are doing the LATAM stream. TV Azteca, thank you. And, yeah, and much love over to those guys because that's a new group of people who had never really, like, you know, casted Gears before, and they've done it, but they've learned a lot during that whole fall quarter as well, and they got a chance to watch the latest event, so they know what's going down, and they'll be there as well, starting off their broadcast on Monday, and, you know, bringing that to the LATAM fans. You know, I can't speak Spanish, but I am doing my Duolingo courses, and I'll be getting these 20s back to back. They got leaderboards on there, and, you know, I'm trying to get my Spanish up, so be able to just understand more of just, you know, what the fans are saying and what they want, you know?
The only Spanish I've learned to help us out in Mexico, Blaze, is every time I go out with you, I can look at somebody and go, "Dos cervezas, por favor."
And I'm up here like,
that's two beers. Two beers.
Okay, there we go. And I'm like,
you know, I don't drink, so I guess
I'm like,
it's just gonna be you drinking, but
drinking 2 beers.
Shit, I chug them for you, Colin. As long as you got my back, I know I'll make it home safe. All right.
I appreciate you, Blaze. Thank you for taking that hit for me. I'll make sure you get back to the hotel safe.
That's all I need to know. All right. Yeah, that, you know, when we go internationally, we travel as packs. All right, and we get stuff done. We make it out safe. And you know, after the last Mexico event, I believe that, you know, that type of connection gets even tighter as well. So you know, you're always good. The group is always looking out for each other. So, you know, that's always nice. In Mexico, you know, we always do events. We're always in downtown. You know, we're always like in the heart of the city, next to the World Trade. Great food around. You know, there's plenty of places.
I can't wait to hit my Mexican spot again.
Yeah, the ones we always go to. Yup. Get 12 tacos a night. Finish off your day.
Oh yeah,
some little horchata.
What am I saying?
Yo, have you ever had like not pineapple juice, but like they do like this little pineapple agua drink where it's just like pineapple. I don't know what it was. I had it the other day at this taco truck out here. Man, that shit was fire. All right, but before we go into tacos and food, yeah, man. Any last minute words or shout outs from you guys? You know.
Shout out to you for letting me come on and chit chat.
You know, thank you for having notifications on and wanting to come through. I appreciate you.
It's just a shout out to everyone playing Gears, I guess, and then my teammates and
yeah, much love for you for coming on. You know, like we haven't done a hot seat, and regrettably maybe like 7 months. You know, like I was doing them in New York, and I moved. Yeah, it's been a hot minute. I was doing them in New York before I moved to like Columbus in April, and I didn't do any in Columbus, but like I had moved from there, and so you know, I was going through my shit. You know, we all go through our days, and sometimes we all go through growth, and sometimes you just gotta put some stuff off to the side and get you right. You know, hell, you know, I got some of the best health in my life. Sometimes you just gotta put the internet off to the side and do you and get your mind right. So this new year has been good to me, so I'm excited to give you guys more of this. All right, because I want to talk to you guys more, and I want you guys to be able to, have a space to just have honest opinions on what's happening and how people feel, and to say how you feel. Okay, so appreciate you guys, and Kenny, much love for you coming through. Colin, you as well. Guys in the chat, not to get to too many of your questions out there, but it's all good. I'm gonna get the process down a little bit better for you to be able to, get those questions there somewhere, and I can have mods in here to kind of help and to kind of gather those, because it's very hard for me to be present and talking to these guys and having a conversation, and then to break my attention and to read the chat as well. I'm not as good at doing that as I used to be back in the day. Brain slowing down. Age, right? Old age? One of those. But all right, love you guys. We're gonna do love you guys, and wherever you're watching, hey, subscribe, like, hit the channel up. Appreciate you. All right, much love. Peace. Bye.